In this video, I'm going to teach you how to grow your biceps with 4 simple tips. Hey, how's it going everyone? My name is Devin, and if you're new here, I create all sorts of content on how to stay fit and healthy from the comfort of your own home. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure to like and subscribe today for more content. So let's jump into it. So tip number 1 on how to grow your biceps is exercise selection. When debating on choosing an exercise to grow any part of your body, the rule of thumb is to always start with a barbell compound exercise. So if you have a barbell that you can use for bicep curls, that is going to be your number 1 exercise selection. That's going to really help with the overall growth of the bicep. But another thing to keep in mind is that you have 2 heads to the bicep. You have the short head and you have the long head. So it's important that we're hitting both heads of the bicep as well as many neural pathways as we can. And that comes from a variety of different exercise selections. So yes, you have your barbell bicep curl, which is the number 1 exercise for growing your biceps. But you also want to implement things like dumbbell curls, chin-ups, concentrated curls, and band curls. So why implement so many different exercises? Well, it's because you have different neural pathways hitting different parts of that bicep and each individual head of that bicep. On top of this, if you want to make your arms look even bigger, you should also be working on the brachialis. The brachialis is a muscle right there in the middle, in between the bicep and the tricep, and it also flexes the arm at the elbow joint. So if you can grow that, it's going to help your arm look even bigger that way. Pro tip, this is something I didn't really learn until later on in fitness, and that is whenever you flex, one of the biggest parts of your arm isn't just the bicep, but it's also the tricep. When that comes down like that, it makes your arm just look bigger overall, so make sure not to neglect your triceps as well. So another reason why it's important to have a different overall exercise selection is because you have different intensity curves as you're doing the lift. So when you're doing a bicep curl with a barbell or a dumbbell, it's going to be at its peak intensity about halfway up. That's when it's the hardest. Down here, it's pretty easy. Up here, it's pretty easy. Right there, it's pretty difficult. That's why I also recommend utilizing bands, because bands are going to go from easy to hard to even harder at the top. So if you can, implement bands into your routine as well. Tip number 2 is volume and overload. So what do I mean by volume? When I talk about volume, I'm talking about your sets, your reps, and your weight. So the more overall volume you're doing, the more overall work you're doing, and the more overall work you're doing, the more you're gonna grow your biceps. And then we go to this principle of overload. It's one of the basic training principles in exercise science, which basically states that overload is just increasing the volume or the intensity over time. So you don't just want to stay down here in your intensity, you actually want to go up every single week. And then of course you can't always continue to go up over time, otherwise we'd all just be curling 1,000 pounds. So you can't just keep going up like that. You're eventually going to fatigue and plateau, and that is when you need to change up the program. So usually that takes about 4 to 6 weeks. So I have another video on mesocycle training linked in the description down below, so make sure to check that out on how to structure the actual workout. Tip number 3, frequency. So one of the keys to really growing your biceps is to lift 2 to 4 times per week. I would say more around the 2 range is more of a maintenance kind of thing. Unless you're brand new to lifting in general, then 2 is going to be pretty good for you. But if you're more of an intermediate or advanced lifter, then you're going to want to be at the range of about the 3 or 4 times per week. Now that sounds like a lot of frequency, and it definitely is. I would not recommend squatting that often or deadlifting or doing any major muscle groups that often. But when we're talking about something as isolated as just the biceps, they actually can handle a lot more frequency and actually respond a lot better to more volume than certain other muscle groups that are larger. So make sure to keep your bicep workouts at least a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 4 times per week. And then my last tip, tip number 4, is consistency and time. Guys, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither are your biceps. They're not going to be built in a day. It's going to take time. We live in kind of a microwave society where we want everything now. But that's just not the case here, or really with anything in fitness. When people tell you you can get abs in like a matter of like a few days, no. A few minutes, no. Not gonna happen. It takes time. So same with the biceps. So make sure to give yourself at least a few months before you even start to look for any differences. And then for really big differences and seeing your biceps really getting big, it's gonna take 6 months, a year, a few years. It depends on where you're at in your fitness journey. If you're new to fitness and growing your biceps, then that's gonna come a lot faster. But if you've been doing it for a few years, it starts to slow down over time. But either way, staying consistent is gonna really be vital to growing those biceps. So those are my 4 tips on how to really grow your biceps. Make sure to comment down below and let me know what your favorite exercise is for your biceps. And hey, if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video on how to stay fit and healthy from the comfort of your own home. Guys, thanks so much again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.